Note that no National Party member contested the call with me. I note that no National Party member is prepared to defend Jerry Brownlee. I note that no member with any responsibility for the transport area has bothered to sit in the chair or to defend this bill, and that's probably because it is more or less indefensible and they are waving the white flag on it. Mr Speaker, I do note the comments that my colleague Marion Street made with regard to the Victory area, and as the successor to the member for Pencarrow, I note that my predecessor, Sonia Davies, cut her political teeth on the ripping of the railway line out of the Victory area, and now I understand Nick Smith wants to put a motorway through there. Mr Speaker, I think we might be past putting a railway back into that part of Nelson, but I think, Mr Speaker, this is the sort of bill that would allow a motorway to go through that community, and that would be something which would be absolutely wrong. But in making that comment, Mr Speaker, my colleague was referring to the importance of integrated transport planning and spending, and I do want to commend the Green Speaker who made the last speech, because I think she has got her head around the importance of having integrated planning as far as transport is concerned. And I think all of us in our electorates have areas where, if things were done more logically, we'd have less spending on roads and more on the alternative to roads. And in my electorate, clearly an increase in public transport is warranted. And an increase in alternatives to roads would include, in my area, the Wainua Hill Bridge. The bridge across the top of the hill, which would mean that people could walk over the hill, have a bridge over the top of the road and then down the other side, because at the moment people have to dodge their way across the road, slightly blind from transport coming from both directions, and it is quite dangerous for people to either bike or walk on the paths and to cross at the top. A bridge which is available and was heading for the top of that hill, and as I think the bridge actually used to be at Petone before they made the changes at Petone. The bridge was heading for the top of the hill, and the national government changed the rules as to the alternatives to roads, and it meant that the money which would otherwise have been available was no longer available. And I just think that that's wrong, and it creates danger for individuals, and it means that a lot of people who would bike don't bike because it is seen by them to be dangerous. Mr Speaker, in a similar way, the focus on having more and more motorways means that some of the logical things, such as the improvement of the railway links around the Wellington wharves, hasn't happened. I think for a long time now, probably for at least a decade, there has been a focus on grade separation, getting grade separation, that means sort of bridges and overpasses, around the ferry terminal in Wellington, in order to be able to bring in much more freight into the Wellington waterfront by way of train rather than truck, thereby freeing up the motorways, freeing up the road from the Wairarapa, so that things can come down, logs in particular, can come down on the train rather than and be there immediately in time for the ships. There's a lot of logic to it, but the problem at the moment is that the trains and the road traffic conflict, and you have to, when a train comes in, you have a massive traffic jam, and what's needed, obviously, sorry. Well, the logs are jammed up in both senses. Both the ones on the trucks and the ones on the trains ended up getting jammed up, and that, Mr. Chairman, as a result of that, there is clearly much more logical way of using the money. Mr. Speaker, the changes in the ratios means that the Cross Valley Link, which would take a lot of traffic off the Esplanade, which is again another jammed up point in the Hutt Valley. The Cross Valley Link, which would feed across White Lines East, off the Wainui Hill, out of Nainai, across a new bridge and into the Dowse Interchange. $40 million spent on a Dowse Interchange. $40 million spent on a Dowse Interchange. And what is it? It's an interchange to nowhere, because the road that's meant to come off it has been cancelled by the national government. Cancelled by the national government. Now, you know, Mr. Speaker, it's just a silly approach. The last point that I want to make has more, Mr. Chairman, my sports spokesperson hat on, and I refer to refer to the events definition here, and the change in policy with regard to sports events, which has been very recently drawn to my attention. Previously, what used to happen, I think probably under the leadership of the Honourable Annette King, although it possibly happened earlier, was that there was some funding out of land transport into the police budget for them to do safety work, which included around sports events. And I, as members know, have an interest in cycling. But that has been changed. That has been changed by the National Party. Only I understand from about the 1st of March this year, or it might be the 1st of April this year. So the police are no longer contracted, they are no longer funded in order to do their police work around sporting events. And I've got an example for it. One of the long-term examples, I think just north of Mr. Farfoy's electorate, is that for years, during a local cycle race, which goes around the Akataruas and up the Paicock Hill, the local policeman has come out for about an hour and overridden the traffic lights in order to let the cyclists through as they come through in bunches, in order to not to have 400 or 500 people in a group on the road together as a result of the lights turning red and the cyclists having to stop. A logical safety measure which allows the traffic and the cyclists to flow, not to end up many abreast, and a massive safety factor. Now, the ruling of the government means that work is no longer done, Mr. Speaker, and at the first instance of that race happening, about 5k down the road afterwards, because of a massive bunch of cyclists and the pressure from cars and trucks, there was an accident which I think involved 37 cyclists. 37 cyclists knocked out of a race, and 2 of them hospitalised. 4 ambulances required, 2 of them hospitalised, all because the National Party, in order to try and save a wee bit of money in this area, said that the local policeman wasn't allowed to go there for an hour to do the safety work for which they'd previously been contracted. Mr. Speaker, these people, they know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. Mr. Speaker, I'm not even going to say that they were conscious of the effects that they were making when they changed their rules, because I'm not sure, Mr. Speaker, they actually read the papers that are put in front of them which make this sort of change. It's clear with Hekia Parata. I would have thought that with Mr. Brownlee, the current Minister of Transport, he would have been across it. Although it might have happened in the time of Stephen Joyce, and we knew that he didn't read his papers properly. That was certainly the case with him. But, Mr. Speaker, we've got to know that safety is important to this government. We've got to know that we have integrated transport planning, and this bill gives us no hope whatsoever that the government know what they're doing.
Simon O'Connor.
Move that the question be now put.
Brendan Horan.
Thank you, Mr.